American.
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes. I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
Well, when this whole war, this brouhaha that came out regarding Barry Obama and the entire, all the police in the country just sprouted out here out of seemingly nowhere last week, I knew there was one guy I had to get on the record, and that is Jim Kouri. He is standing in the wings now. He is vice president of the National Association of Chiefs of Police, currently the 5th vice president of the National Association of Chiefs of Police, a staff writer for New Media Alliance. In addition, he's the new editor for House Conservative Funds weblog. He also serves as a political advisor and a friend of Emmy-nominated Golden Globe winner Michael Moriarty, who's a friend of our show as well. He is a news writer for multiple magazines. He's appeared on air as a commentator for over 100 TV and radio shows and talk shows, including Oprah, McLaughlin Report, CNN Headline News, MTV, and Fox News. His resume is so extensive I couldn't cover it all on the air, but he joins us now. Jim Kouri, thank you for being on the show with us.
Good to talk to you again, Jack.
Good to talk to you. You've actually written an article about this, even as today Obama is allegedly having a beer with all of the people trying to mediate and really backtrack on his earlier statements, maybe do some damage control here. Your article is Obama's disdain for blue, off-the-cuff remarks without just the facts. That's exactly what happened here.
It is, but also I think that there's something deeper here. Barack Obama does not like local law enforcement. We're seeing across the country states declaring their own sovereignty from the federal government. Why? Because of oppressive gun control legislation, because of the abortion issue, because of a lot of issues. And states feel that the federal government is intruding on their territory. And, you know, nowhere else do you see that more than in law enforcement. The cliche of the feds coming in and taking over an investigation being conducted by local law enforcement is a cliche because it happens so regularly. So I think this was a shot across the bow of local law enforcement because Obama, President Obama and his people want a stronger federal law enforcement apparatus.
I agree with that.
Regardless of the fact that the police power is reserved for the states.
Yeah, and for local municipalities, I mean, that's how we can, be friends with the police. This is something when I was a kid, you knew the cop on the beat, he knew your family, and now, of course, we've gone to this, I'm sorry, Jim, with all due respect, a giant police state building around us, thanks to Barkey right now. How about this? I want to talk more about this, but I didn't know if you heard this comment. This is coming from Professor Gates. When he went to go apply at Yale, to his eventual embarrassment, he wrote this in his Yale application. Quote, "As always, Whitey now sits in judgment of me, preparing to cast my fate," among other things. I mean, do you think that Professor Gates might have a problem with Whitey?
Yeah, I think so, and I think this is part of the rhetoric that we commonly hear on college campuses. Think about it. Parents scrimp and save. We don't all have millions of dollars socked away to send our kids to Harvard. But you want to send your child to get a good education because that piece of paper means something, and you spend thousands and you go into hock up to your ears, and you have an idiot like this Henry Gates really proselytizing kids into the left-wing point of view. And, it's not just him. There's a lot of them. Obama comes from that group. You can't tell me that this guy sat in a church for 20 years and didn't know how his pastor felt about certain subjects.
Well, I have him on the record. Here's Barkey himself right here.
That's just how white folks will do you.
I think he's trying to tell us something here, Jim.
Yeah, this is what passes for intellectual dialogue on college campuses nowadays.
And what is the first thing a racist does is he points the finger back at everybody else who calls him a racist and calls them racist.
Sure. Karl Marx once said, accuse others of what you do.
Well, whenever you're pointing the finger at me, 3 are pointing back at you.
Yeah,
I always use that one.
Exactly.
How is this being accepted or taken by the National Association of Chiefs of Police? I saw today, just to kind of make up for these remarks, and thank you, American public, this has cost you $1 million, a grant to the Fraternal Order of Police, of which I believe you're a member.
The Fraternal Order of Police, first of all, they're not on Obama's Christmas list, that's for sure. They endorsed John McCain, not because they were so crazy about John McCain, but again, it was like the lesser of two evils.
Right.
And but they endorsed John McCain. Most recognized police organizations endorsed John McCain before that, even though they weren't happy with some of Bush's decisions. They endorsed George W. Bush.
So Cousin Barry
I think it's the only labor organization, and basically they are a labor organization, that does support Republican candidates. But not so much because they're Republican, because they're more conservative, and they believe in the police power going to local communities and not to the federal government. We don't believe in a federal police force, and that's where we're heading in this country.
So Barry actually had a problem with the police to begin with, and this is really just kind of systematic of the problem that he has. He had a Joe Biden moment there. He just couldn't shut himself up and not put that on the record. We've also heard that question was posed because he wanted to put that on the record, and it should also be on the record that Professor Gates is an old friend of his.
Exactly. And in my column, I pointed out that they had a big meeting in Washington, D.C. about Homeland Security, and they had all the federal agencies represented at this panel. They were put on the Board of Advisors, and they were all federal law enforcement people. And not one organization that represents local police or local law enforcement was invited to it. And again, you have Janet Napolitano, who is director or the Secretary of Homeland Security, who refuses to protect our borders. She refuses to do the things that she's supposed to be doing. And basically what we have is a Homeland Security Department that's watching us.